Welcome to Romance Happy Hour. I'm Dylann Crush, and I am here with our guest hostess for tonight, Kelly, with the Boobies and Noobies podcast. I'm so grateful that you're joining me tonight.
So grateful to be invited back.
Of course. Dawn has been having just some ongoing family stuff happening, and so I'm not sure when Dawn will be back. But we'll keep you guys posted. But in the meantime, we will be having a couple guest hostesses. I think Kelly is on the calendar to join us a couple times. And if any of our viewers want to be a guest hostess, it's always fun to have readers come on and guest host as well. So let me know. We would be happy to have you. So we are here tonight with PJ Fiala and True Taylor. So very excited to have you ladies with us this evening.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Great to be here.
So before we get started, Kelly, it's been a while since we've seen you. What's going on with you? I see that you have sunlight behind you, and that is probably because you moved far away from me in Minnesota, where I'm wearing like a sweater and I have a blanket here because I'm up at the cabin and it's chilly.
I know. I do treasure the time that we actually got to meet that one time in person, which was great. And I think it was actually the day before I left Minneapolis, St. Paul. So
it was.
I've been out in Portland, Oregon for almost a year at this point, and it's great. I love it. I will say, until about a week ago, I was also all bundled up, very nice and cozy, and then all of a sudden the like humid 70-degree weather just kind of came out of nowhere. So on the one hand, I'm happy to see the sun, but on the other hand, I feel very sticky. So you can't win them all,
right? Yeah. You're either freezing, shivering, and cold, or you're sticky and sweating. So
yeah, but I think Portland's a lot like the Twin Cities. It reminds me a lot. It's a very similar vibe. Great food, great nightlife, beautiful outdoors. So come visit.
I would love to. Absolutely love to. So, and we've got PJ Fiala here. So PJ, welcome. You want to introduce yourself and just give everybody an idea about what you write and what's going on with you?
Sure. Well, thank you. Thank you for having me. And it's nice to meet both of you kind of in person, I guess, via video.
This is about as in person as we've been, for the past couple of years. So things are starting.
I also feel sticky. So just so you know, we're getting the humid weather here too. So we're good with the sticky. I write romantic suspense. Today, I'm just going to show this. I published my 31st book. Which is very exciting, except I'm not on Facebook, but I have 2 more books in this series to go, and then I'm starting a whole new series next year, beginning January. So there's many more to come, hopefully.
Well, and I think you should explain you're not on Facebook. Now, it's not by choice that you're not on Facebook. PJ got hacked.
Yes.
Bad, super hacked. And so...
2 weeks ago, it's 2 weeks now, and they completely wiped out my profile. So I don't exist on Facebook right now. And I've tried a couple times to open a new account, and as soon as I open it up and try to navigate through a newsfeed, I'm suspended again. So I guess I'm persona non grata for a while.
Oh no. I mean, they only try to hack the really cool people with like interesting lives. So let's be real. Like, you should take it as a compliment.
Okay, I'll do that.
I guess that's one way of looking at it, Kelly. Always the optimist there.
We try.
And we've also got True Taylor here, and I know poor True. We've asked True to mute in between talking because we're getting a lot of feedback from True's mic. So True, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and let us know kind of what you write and what's going on with you, and we'll all be quiet while you talk so that we don't get that feedback.
So I'm clearly not cool enough to have been hacked. I'm not one of those cool people. I write contemporary romance and romantic comedy, and I have been published for a long time. I was published in young adult and young adult fantasy. So I have a couple series there, but under the True Taylor pen name, I really have just gotten started. My first book in my Eastport Bay series, Bookworm and the Beast, came out last August. And I just did a cover reveal yesterday for book 7 in the series. So these are, they're modern, loosely based fairy tale retellings, all with billionaire heroes. But they're not like what a lot of people think of with billionaire romance. I mean, you can tell by the cover, they're not dark, they're not mafia, they're kind of lighthearted romantic comedy and contemporary romance. And let's see, it's not sticky here yet. I'm in New England. I live in Rhode Island, and that's where my series is set, in a fictional town in Rhode Island. And it's really just gotten not cold here. Before, it's been cold, and now suddenly we're not cold, but we're not warm. So I'm not going to complain. I complain too much about the cold. So,
can I just say that I'm excited to read a book set in Rhode Island, because I'm hosting a reading challenge this year called 50 Romances, 50 States. And so the whole goal is to read romances across the United States. And I don't know if I've done a post yet for Rhode Island.
That is so cool. That is great. Yeah, I know Rhode Island doesn't always get a lot of attention since we're about this big, but plenty of love stories here.
Great. Yeah. Good to know.
I was just in Rhode Island, well, you don't have to tell us exactly where you live, but Rhode Island isn't that big. So I imagine that wherever I was probably not far from you. So I just went to a writing retreat, like a business side of writing retreat in Newport.
Yeah, I figured you were going to say Newport. That is, really, there's so many beautiful places to go in Rhode Island, but Newport is like the little tourism jewel. And yeah, no place is you can literally drive across the whole state in 45 minutes. Mm-hmm. So Newport is about 30 minutes away from me. Yeah, there's nowhere too far away. And we go to Newport all the time. I just went last weekend. Gorgeous. Yeah.
It was beautiful.
Can I ask, if you were to drive around like the entire state of Rhode Island, like how long would that take?
Oh gosh, let's see. Well, I know you can drive from top to bottom in 45 minutes. And I'm really not a math person, so I don't know how long it would take to drive all the way around. Really not very long. We've definitely done it one day when we were leaf peeping in the fall. We get really good fall color here. So we kind of did a perimeter of the whole state, trying to hit all the good spots, and 3 hours or something like that. It's teeny, but strong.
I love that. I'm from California, so it takes like 7 days to drive anywhere. Oh, so it's always exciting for me to hear about road trips like that.
Yeah, we lived in Sacramento before we moved here, and I would have like friends and family come and visit me in Sacramento, going, "Can we go to LA today?" And I was like, "We can. We'll have to get in the car and drive for 7 hours, but we could,
Very true. Very true. I did see somebody in the chat wanted to know, True, do you know Kirk's Folly Jewelry family in Rhode Island?
I'm familiar with the name, but I don't know the family.
Okay, there you go.
I don't actually know every person here. Close, but no, there's about 1 million people in Rhode Island, so it's small, but
that's a lot of people in such a small place.
Yeah, we live close together.
Well, I enjoyed it. Yeah, I think it'll be fun to hear your take on romance in a small town or a small state like Rhode Island. And there you go.
Small state.
You didn't have Rhode Island covered yet, did you?
I'm sorry, what?
Oh, I was telling Kelly didn't have Rhode Island covered.
I haven't done a Rhode Island post yet. I'm trying to collect a few books for each state before I share about it. I have done Minnesota, because now, having lived in Minnesota, I know books set in Minnesota. But yeah, I haven't done Rhode Island yet.
Kelly, I will send you some.
Okay.
And then you will be replete in Rhode Island books.
I love it. PJ, where does your latest book take place?
Actually, it takes place in Miami.
I don't know if I've done Florida yet either, actually.
Well, there you go.
Well, we'll get you all hooked up tonight, Kelly. You'll have to let us know which states you're missing, and I'm sure our viewers will be more than happy to make some recommendations for you. So
Yeah.
I will take them. I'll take them all.
sounds good. Well, we are going to get into it. PJ is going to read for us first. So what do you have for us tonight?
I am going to read the first 2 chapters of Ford, Finding His Fires. So romantic suspense. Ford is the first book in the Big Three Security series. And Ford takes place in Indiana, a fictitious town called Leonard Station on the Hill. And that was named, my readers in my reader group helped me name characters and places. So that was from them. So I'll read the first 2 chapters from Ford.
Do you want to hold the cover up one more time? Everybody loves to see covers. So especially when there's a nice guy on the cover. So
he has got eyebrows for days. I love it.
All right. Well, we will leave you to it, and we will be back when you're done.
Okay. All right. Chapter 1. Pulling his pickup truck into a parking spot at the edge of the lot, Ford inhaled deeply as he looked at the majestic brick building, which had stood longer than any other building in Leonard Station. A tornado had swept through town 12 years ago and wiped out most of the town. Few buildings were left standing, the courthouse being one of them. Others were partially destroyed and now had new additions added on to the formerly standing walls. So the courthouse was revered in a special way as indestructible. Today, he only hoped it ended his black chapter in his life. Spotting his sister, Emmy Lou, and his brother Dawson waiting for him at the top of the steps in front of the entrance, he pulled the keys from his ignition and exited his truck. Swallowing the lump in his throat as he neared them, the somber looks on their faces told his story. They were scared, worried, and sick to have to be here today, but eager to get on with life, their new life. His boots made soft thumping sounds as he ascended the steps to greet his siblings. The sun beat down, already creating a bead of sweat on his temple, and he could feel moisture gather at his back. Another scorcher today. He hugged Emmy first. Her long dark hair was pulled into a ponytail at her nape. Her dark eyes, so much like his, held the emotions of 100 years. He wrapped his arms around her tighter and pulled her closer, whispering in her ear, "We'll be okay. We can do this." "I know. I'm not used to being on this side of the courtroom, and I'm nervous as heck." "About time you see what some of your clients have to go through. It'll make you a better lawyer for them." She scoffed and slapped at his shoulder, but the weak smile she gave him said it all. She thought so too. She was a darn good lawyer, though she often found herself working for the worst clients, drug dealers and pedophiles. As a defense lawyer, she got them all, but she always believed a fair trial kept those scumbags from getting an appeal and kept them in jail where they belonged. Good thing they didn't know she felt that way. Turning to Dawson, Ford wrapped him in a warm embrace. "Love you, man. It's going to be all right." "I know, Ford. We're finally going to see this piece of crap go to jail for killing Mom and Dad. I haven't been able to sleep thinking we'd finally be getting justice for them. It's all I've been able to think about for the past 4 years." "Yeah, I get that," Dawson, the youngest of the 3 of them and the most emotional, blinked away the wetness gathering in his eyes. Dawson's sandy brown hair and blue eyes were just like their mom's, and Ford had to swallow the lump that had grown in his throat at the thought. Their parents had been killed in a fire set by Bobby Ray June just over 4 years ago. He'd been tracking Bobby Ray ever since. Then Bobby Ray was a suspect in the fires that burned through Gatlinburg and Pigeon Ford, and Ford had been so darn mad that he hadn't gotten to him. He stepped up his efforts, which required him to be away from home for 5 months. Oops, I lost my place. Sorry. Getting to this trial had seemed like an eternity, and his heart was heavy that he hadn't been able to get justice for his parents. That is, until now, finally. Stepping back, he inhaled deeply and asked, "Shall we head inside?" They turned to enter the old brick building, the sun still high in the sky. The cloudless day seemed a good omen for them. "Hey, Ford, wait up!" He turned to see Detective Rory Richards briskly walking toward them. Leaning forward to shake hands with his high school friend, Ford could see the trouble in his eyes. Hey, I hate to be the one to tell you this, and I'm so sorry. He cleared his throat. Bobby Ray June escaped as he was being transported to court this morning. What? Emmy yelled. Honest to God, didn't you have that animal chained up in every way possible? Tears instantly raced down her cheeks as she looked at Ford for their next move. His jaw clenched and his heart dropped to the bottom of his stomach, threatening to spill the meager contents inside. He had help. We're thinking Waylon, June. Rory's fingers shook as he handed the grainy pictures to him. We'd like you on this, Ford, if you think you want to track this jerk down. It was hard to make out distinct features, but the resemblance was certainly the mark of family. Sliding each picture off to Emmy and Dawson as he looked them over, the last one was a gut punch. Both Bobby, Ray, and Waylon giving the camera on the prison escort van the finger and wearing smiles on their disgusting, pudgy faces. Emmy gasped as she saw the last picture. Dawson swore and choked back a sob. Emmy grabbed Ford's arm and turned him toward her. You have to go. You have to get him again. Chapter 2. Good morning, she cheerfully said to no one in particular, but to all who were within earshot. Morning, Megan. I've got your breakfast all ready. It's chicken day, so you're going to be busy. Need to eat and build up your strength. Nyla's gravelly voice could be heard over the clatter of dishes and frying foods. A large woman in her early 60s, Nyla had hired Megan when she needed a job, and they'd been together for the past 4 years. Everyone in town loved Nyla's roasted chicken and her apple pies. Megan loved that Nyla took care of her, and she returned the favor. It wasn't uncommon for Nyla to forget to eat herself, especially on chicken day. Thank you. I'll just do a quick sweep of the dining room with the coffee pot before I sit. Tying her spring green apron around her waist, she breathed through the double swinging saloon doors to the dining room and quickly assessed the capacity. About half full now. It wouldn't be long before it would be impossible to hear herself think as it filled with customers, all chatting, laughing, and enjoying the atmosphere. Small town meets southern charm meets the best deal in town and the best food too. It was a business goldmine. Morning, Ralph. Ed, more coffee? She filled their cups without waiting for them to respond. They always wanted more coffee. Regulars came in at 6 a.m. and sat through the better part of breakfast, gossiping about who was where and when, and they came in and went. Gossip Central right here. Edging her way through the tables set for 4, the red and white upholstered chairs and shiny vinyl and chrome legs resembled a 50s diner. She continued chatting and pouring until she came to a booth in the corner. Stopping short of the table, her stomach plummeted as her eyes caught those of the occupant. Laser blue eyes trapped her, causing her throat to go dry as her heart sped. Not again. This was the 5th day in a row. Why wouldn't he believe her and go harass someone else? Marcus, I don't suppose I could hope that you're actually here for the food today. Slowly pushing his cup to the edge of the table, she gritted her teeth as she concentrated on filling it, but fantasized about dumping the whole pot over his head. I think we both know why I'm here. Lifting her eyes to his, she slowly inhaled and held her breath for a moment before exhaling. I don't know where Waylon is. We're divorced. Have been for over 6 darn years. He doesn't check in. He doesn't call. He doesn't write. He doesn't visit. And I like it that way. I want nothing to do with him or you or any of your cohorts. Now, if I need to call the police about their harassment, I certainly will. A smile spread across his face in a slow slither, as if he were a snake, which was the perfect way to describe him. He was a drug runner, and unfortunately for her, so was Waylon. Also, unfortunately for her, Waylon seemed to have stolen a very valuable something from Marcus, and he wanted it back. I think you're blowing this all out of proportion. I'm sitting here drinking coffee, not unlike those gentlemen over there you so nicely chatted with. And I simply asked you a couple of questions about a mutual friend. I don't think the cops are going to be too interested in that story. She clenched her jaw tightly as her breathing increased. Plus, with your record, I don't think the police are going to believe you over me. I don't have a police record. Yet, she spat. He shrugged. Turning abruptly, she hustled back to the kitchen, more to get away from him than anything else, but also, well, just to get away from him. Ramming her fists into her apron pockets to hide the shaking from Nyla, she walked past the table set with her plate and a fresh glass of orange juice, intending to use the restroom. Hey, girl, you need to eat, Nyla called after her. Giving a quick wave of her hand and a glance over her shoulder, she replied, just gotta use the bathroom. Be back. Locking the wooden door, she leaned against it, wrapping her arms around her stomach, hoping to quell the roiling. He was right in that he didn't actually do anything to her other than ask questions, but she knew for a fact he'd followed her home yesterday and the day before. He watched her house most of the night, too. She'd gone on her front porch to water her flowers, and there he was, not even hiding the fact he was watching her. In the middle of the night, she could have sworn she heard footsteps on her porch. Her heart beat so fast she thought it'd take off and fly away. Listening for the jiggle of the door handle or the rattle of one of her old windows, she was finally able to relax after about an hour when no such sounds reached her ears. She didn't mention it today because she wanted to pretend it wasn't happening, and he wasn't getting bolder. She was probably being stupid. These weren't people you messed with. Megan, honey, time to get rolling. You okay in there? Nyla knocked softly. Yes, I'll be out. I'll be right out, Nyla. Washing her hands, she breathed in and out a couple times and told herself it would all be all right. Leaving the bathroom, she smoothed down her apron, shoulders back, head high, forced herself to be brave. And then she heard Chad the busboy say, never seen that guy before.
All right, hold on. We're coming back. There we go.
There we are.
Sorry about that.
That was great, PJ. And you said this is your 31st book?
This is not this one isn't. This one I published, I think 3 years ago now, but
okay.
I just published 31 today. So
that's so exciting. Well, that was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, I can see where that's going.
Or not.
Well, right. Keep us guessing, but yeah,
Mm-hmm.
fun to get somebody was saying in the comments, the protector heroes and all that, and the woman that's maybe can take care of herself, but is also in a little bit of distress. So
a little distress, yeah.
We had a whole slew of questions come in during this reading. So I think a lot of them geared towards all of you. So the one that I wanted to start with was, do you prefer writing about small towns or big cities? Teresa asked, because I find it's more difficult to find stories set in big cities, personally, at least. So I'd love to hear from the authors.
Most of my stories are small town. But for instance, the one that published today, they are in Miami, which is a very large city. But they are a group of people looking for pedophiles and traffickers. And so this series is taking them around the United States a little bit. But usually everything is set in a small town. I grew up in a small town, so I kind of get the vibe.
Yeah.
Same here. I have never actually lived. Well, I guess I lived in Sacramento, which was a big city, but most of my life I've lived in small towns, and I grew up in a small town, and I live in a small town now. So I guess I feel like I can do a better job writing what I know when I'm writing about small towns. Also, I love the whole, they have the diner that they go to. They have the little pair of lovebird swans, that always shows up in every story. And I like a lot of the aspects about the small town romance.
Well, and with small town also, I feel like, you can make, not that you can't with a big city, but with small towns, oftentimes the town is also somewhat of a character, and it you can really make it as charming as you want to, and also maybe, not get called out so much, because that's my biggest fear, is writing in a big city. Somebody will say, like, there's not a Starbucks on that corner, or, especially.
I would so be that person too. Like, it, Dylann.
I know you would. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, I feel like you have a little bit more leeway when you either create a city or write in a small town, and then you get to build it yourself. So, yeah,
I guess that would be kind of the compromise, is like creating a fictional city, like, as opposed to like a fictional small town. But I can't think of a lot of those offhand.
No, I can't think of any either. I'm not sure. Most of the time when you set it in a big city, you get to take advantage of the landmarks people recognize and things like that. But yeah, I think just for me, I live in the Twin Cities, but I've always lived in the suburbs of places. And so, I think that it would be different if you were trying to, although I did write a book set in Chicago.
Yes.
Been to Chicago a lot of times. And also, I don't know, YouTube has become, just such a resource for us as authors. I think, do both of you do, either Google Maps and, where you can actually like put your little person down and look around to see what things look like, or YouTube? I've like toured hotel suites on YouTube so I can write them into my stories and all kinds of fun stuff.
Yes.
It's so cool. It really has given you the power to travel.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, True. I'm sorry. I keep seeing you trying to speak.
I'm trying not to like cause feedback for everybody else. I was just going to say, yes, absolutely. I use YouTube and I use Google Maps to go to the places that I have never actually been, or even to neighborhoods where I need to know really what is on each corner or whatever. Yeah.
Nice. Maybe it's because I'm a city girl that this is something that I think about. Like, I've only lived in cities for like most of my adult life. So I guess I want to see more. Like, I would kill for a Twin Cities romance. Honestly, I feel like I need some Minneapolis, St. Paul love.
We'll have to see what we can do about that.
Okay. There was another question also from Teresa that I just thought was really funny. And Teresa, I got to give you props for just coming up with these questions. But what's your go-to drink when your story or characters are giving you trouble?
Teresa is a longtime viewer and listener of our show, so she knows that we take the happy hour part of Romance Happy Hour fairly seriously.
It's true.
If I'm actively trying to get my stories out of this trouble, then I'm drinking seltzer water. But if I'm drowning my sorrows because of the trouble that the stories are causing me, I am a Chardonnay girl. So,
excellent response.
I've recently gotten hooked on the hard seltzers. So that's my go-to. They're easy, they're only 100 calories. So
What's your favorite, PJ?
It's got to be black cherry.
Okay.
Oh, okay. I don't drink anything carbonated, and so the whole like White Claw craze has just been like lost on me. But I hear great things about the grapefruit, the pamplemousse. So I'm glad there's a black cherry fan.
There's a black cherry, and it's
at least one.
Well, that sounds really good. I've just got a little bit of Cabernet from my box tonight. I'm a fine connoisseur of boxed wine.
Oh, okay. I thought you were saying you brought a box of wine to the cabin with you.
I did.
Anything wrong with that?
And here I was thinking like, oh, is this a new inclusion in the Romance Happy Hour book box that's going out? Is like a little thing of wine.
I wish. I'd probably get in big trouble if we did that. But yeah, I wish. No, my husband doesn't drink at all. And it takes me too long to drink like a whole bottle of wine. So I get the little box because that way it doesn't go bad so fast.
And then the last question that I think is kind of for everybody is, I lost it. Here it is. What's a trope or genre you've always wanted to try to write, but never have?
I really, really, really want to write vampires.
I love this. I love this journey for you.
But it's always that whole stay in your lane, do what you know. But I will write vampires one of these days. I like sexy vampires.
I love everything about this.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I think you should. I think you would write a really good sexy vampire, PJ.
Mm-hmm.
We'll be here for it.
I've done vampires. Since I've written urban fantasy and contemporary romance. The trope I have never done is a fake marriage. I want to, because I think they're really, really fun. I think they're harder to pull off in contemporary than they are in historicals, but I'm determined to do it. And I have an idea for one. So it's coming.
I love that.
There we go. Sorry, we keep getting a little bit of feedback.
Dylan, did you have one?
Oh, I think I would like to write a cozy mystery.
Yes,
some sort
please.
of humorous cozy mystery. I think that would be fun. So we'll see.
I wholeheartedly co-sign all of these projects. Like, just say, if anybody here listens to my podcast or follows me, they know that one of the things I love talking about is how I think people should write whatever the heck they want to write. Like, I am not a subscriber to stay in your lane at all. Like, if that's what you choose to do, I'm like, great. Yeah, you want to write cozy mysteries forever, do it. But if you want to write a little bit of this, a little bit of that, I don't know. I think that's exciting.
And I think you need to be very concerned about that because it can, mess with your also bots, and from, kind of a business standpoint, you don't want to, I don't know if contaminate is the right word, but it's, if you're creating an author brand, readers want to be able to know what to expect from you. And if you're giving them, I don't know, dark, steamy, psychotic vampires or something on one hand, and then you're giving them, like happy-go-lucky, sweet romance cowboys over here, it can be confusing, I think, sometimes. But no, I agree. I think you should write what you love. Mm-hmm. It's just maybe under a different pen name. If you're going to write in two vastly different lanes, then I think that's why some of us have multiple pen names, because it makes it a little bit easier so that people know exactly what they're getting.
Sure.
Yeah, exactly. And it can be really refreshing, like you were saying, Kelly, as an author too. It can be really refreshing and just rejuvenating to write in different genres. Mm-hmm. Like I would write a book in my urban fantasy series, and then I would write a contemporary romance, which I wasn't publishing, just for me, just because it was very rejuvenating. And then I would go back and write another book to publish. So
nice.
I love it. I want the vampires. I want the cozy mysteries. I want all of it. Arranged marriage.
Bring it on. If only we could write faster, right?
Yeah.
So do we have any other questions, or should we hold off on the others and let True read? We want to make sure that we get to hear from True.
I know there's definitely a few more, but I think there were some that were also geared specifically towards True. So maybe it would be great for True to dive into her reading first.
All right. Sounds good. So True, I think we need to see that cover one more time for sure. Is this what you're reading from tonight?
I have to unmute myself. Yes, this is Bookworm and the Beast. It's not my most recent release, but it's the first one in my series, and I thought it would be fun to start with that. And they're all standalones. You don't have to have read the other books, but they're connected in fun ways, and the characters know each other. So I'm going to read you one of my favorite scenes.
Do all of your books have such charming heroes on the front?
Yes, they do. You should definitely check out my Amazon page and see all of those beautiful boys lined up.
All right, we'll have to do that. Well, we will leave you to it, and we'll be back when you're done.
All right. I am going to read from my Kindle because it's easier for me to see. Okay, so this is a scene from the first chapter, and the heroine Bonnie is standing in line at a big book signing for her favorite author of all time. He's an epic fantasy author, and he's written this amazing series, and the final book in the series is about to come out, and she is standing in line with her friend, waiting to get to finally meet him in person after reading all of his books over and over and over again. Are you nervous? To meet Jack, I mean, Erin asked. Oh, no, I assured her. I don't get starstruck. I've met a few famous people as part of my job, and it didn't affect me at all. I mean, they have morning breath and go to the bathroom like the rest of us. Sure, Erin said, but I was an extra on one of those SVU shows last year, and I totally lost it when one of the stars got behind me in line at craft services. I nearly dropped my potato salad on his shoes. I shrugged. This is different. Jack's a writer. I'm a writer. We use the same 26 letters to do our jobs, right? Finally, we made it inside and up to the third floor where a table was set up inside the rare books room for attendees to get a signed book, exchange a few words with the famous author, and maybe, if they were lucky, a selfie with him. I wouldn't even ask for a photo. I didn't feel the need to prove I'd met him or anything. All I wanted was the chance to tell Jack how much his writing meant to me. His books had even inspired me to write one of my own. Well, I might not tell him that part. He probably wouldn't laugh at me. He was said to be friendly, approachable, and kind to his fans, but I didn't want to take the chance. And I hadn't told anyone except my parents that I was writing my own book. Maybe when it was done. So I have to find the little girl's room, Erin said, hopping a bit on her toes. That chai went straight through me. You're okay here, right? Of course, go. I'll meet you downstairs near the registers. She left, and I took the opportunity to mentally practice what I wanted to say to Jack. Over the past few years, I'd met a few authors at local book signings. Most of them seemed really friendly and frankly thrilled that anyone had showed up for their events. But this was Jack Bestia. And I wasn't quite as cool as I'd claimed to be to Erin. In fact, the closer I got to the signing table, the more jittery I became. My belly bubbled with a broth of anxiety and excitement. Thankfully, I hadn't consumed much of my own chai. I'd mostly used it as a hand warmer, afraid to add any ammo to my nervous stomach. Yes, rehearsing a few phrases was definitely prudent. When I had them memorized, I shifted to self-talk. Be cool. Cool, calm, friendly, but not a blabbering idiot. Definitely no blabbering. I had been known to overshare at times when nervous. Next, please. The tone of the signing facilitator was decidedly impatient, as if it wasn't the first time she had said it. I blinked, realizing the customer ahead of her had moved away. It was my turn. And there he was, Jack Bestia in the flesh. He was impressive. So much larger and better looking in person than he'd appeared in his official author photo. In fact, he was beautiful. The thing I had said about how looks didn't matter, it was true, but wow, his were hard to ignore. Wide shoulders, thick raven black hair, smooth olive skin, and blue-green eyes the color of Caribbean waters when viewed from a seaplane. They sparkled with humor and intelligence, and elevated his handsomeness from mere Hollywood heartthrob to Hemsworth brother levels. I doubted if even Erin's male model coworkers could compete. Next in line, please, the woman repeated, highly irritated now. My heart leapt into my throat, and my feet felt like they'd been welded to the floor. What was the matter with me? I wasn't acting like myself at all. I snapped into action and rushed forward, practically skidding to a stop as I reached the table where stacks of novels with their iconic black covers surrounded the author. He smiled warmly. Hi, thanks for coming. I'm Jack. Those eyes, those spectacular blue eyes, which apparently possessed mind-erasing powers, were trained directly on me. All the words I'd practiced fled my brain like a flock of birds lifting off from a power line. Who should I sign this to? Jack waited, pen poised over the title page of an open book, dark eyebrows raised expectantly while my mind scrambled for a name, for my own name, which I had completely forgotten. A name, any female name. God help me, say something, Bonnie. Bonnie, I blurted, flooded with relief. It's Bonnie. Jack chuckled and started writing. Pretty name. How do I spell it? Bonnie? That was when it happened. The babbling. It came in with no warning, the way a tsunami sneaks up on the shore and then obliterates everything in its path. Yes, it's Scottish. It means beautiful, which is not to say I'm beautiful. I'm not. It's just what my parents named me because they thought I was beautiful. And don't all parents think their daughters are beautiful? You're beautiful. He glanced up sharply. I mean, your words are beautiful. All of them. I've read all your books like a million times. Wow, I can't believe I said like. I never say like. That's such a middle school word, isn't it? I don't even think I've used it in conversation since then, but it's just so cool to meet you. That's another middle school word, cool. But it is so cool to meet you, and I just love you. And Jack had stopped writing and was now staring at me. Maybe he was wondering whether I should be wandering around unsupervised with my obvious mental and emotional challenges, or whether he was in some sort of danger from the nonsensical stalker woman. It was like I was outside my own body, watching him, watching me. And still the words just kept coming, tripping over each other and banging together in a jumbled stream of consciousness alphabet avalanche I seemed powerless to contain. I didn't realize I'd also been gesturing with my hands until the cup of chai latte flew right out of them and landed on the table, where the lid popped off. The contents exploded across the surface of the table, drenching the books and bookmarks and pens atop it. But it didn't stop there. No, that would have been only a Category 3 nightmare. This went for full-on, batten down the hatches, evacuate the low-lying areas, declare a state of emergency status. The fragrant brown liquid rushed toward Jack like it was a heat-seeking missile programmed to target his lap. That was when I cried. As the runaway beverage hit his crotch, Jack yelled, "Whoa, that's hot!" and leapt backward. Two other people rushed forward. They appeared to be some sort of bodyguards or maybe security staff employed by the bookstore. Either way, I had no interest in meeting them. I turned and fled toward the staircase. "She okay?" I heard someone say behind me. Might have been Jack. Might have been one of the other, 100 or so people gaping at the disaster scene I'd created. As I reached the top step, a male voice said, "Stop her! Don't let her leave!" I glanced back over my shoulder to see the two security guys move away from Jack's table toward me. Oh God, I had maimed him and he was going to press charges. Picking up speed, I ran down the stairs to the first floor and out the front door without another look backward and without waiting for Erin. I didn't stop running until I reached the next block. Cowering under the awning of a cafe specializing in crepes, I texted her, "Meet you outside? I'm all done." Understatement of the year. Hanging my head, I squeezed my temples with my free hand and fought to suppress another round of tears. I told him he was beautiful and probably burned off his undoubtedly beautiful man parts. The tears started again as the battle was lost. Looking back on the debacle, I determined where it had all gone wrong. I'd been so in love with Jack Bestia's words, I'd hardly even considered what he looked like, or how nice his voice might sound, or how good he might smell. It was inherently unfair a man could be so talented and so attractive. The total package he'd presented had been simply overwhelming. If there was any good news, it was that I did live in a city of more than 8.5 million people, and Jack Bestia wasn't one of them. He lived more than 3 hours away in Eastport Bay, Rhode Island. There was no chance I'd ever run into him or have to look into those remarkable blue eyes again.
That was fabulous. Sorry, we're unmuting everybody
Thank
here.
you. Thank you.
That was amazing. So, and then I feel like you needed to end that with, like a dun, dun, dun. Because obviously they're going to have to run into each other again. Yeah.
Of course. Yeah. She gets assigned to interview him. So
perfect.
Way to give it away, Dylann. God.
Wait, Deanna is in the comments and said famous last words. So
Yeah.
I have an inkling. I mean, that's what you want to have happen. You want them to meet again, don't you? I mean, come on, we need it.
I also appreciate and will echo Deanna's comment about that. True, you should do your own audiobook narration because you really do have like great intonation. And like when you speak, it brings it to life.
Thank you. I actually am an audiobook narrator under a different name. And thank you very much. I'm glad you enjoyed it. It's fun. It's so fun. I love to read other people's books and mine too.
We should make you come back and read everyone else's books because everyone is always so nervous to read your books. We should have a professional do it. So.
It's so true. I loved this comment from Cheryl that I think leads into a good question. Cheryl said, Scarlet and the Big Bad Billionaire is my first True Taylor book, and I loved it. I especially love the focus on the hero being an artist. I wish there were more stories about painters, musicians, etc. And I just wanted to add to that. I feel like we don't get enough of that specifically with heroes in romance, like men showing their artistic side. So I love that.
Yeah, he is a former SEAL, and so was the hero of the book that was prior to that. And I love that juxtaposition of the strong man who has this really sensitive and expressive inner self, and the the hero of the previous book too was actually, he's a former SEAL and he's a security expert and he's a poet. So I like that.
And a poet. Oh, cue the swooning.
I was going to say, I just finished listening to Highland Fling by Megan Quinn, and the hero in that book is, he works with a pottery wheel, so he is a potter. I was going to say potist. I don't know what is wrong with me tonight. I could not. And like Bonnie, the words fled my mind. So yeah, a potter, I guess. A
pottery is having it's like sexual awakening right now on TikTok. I just want to say, like, if people are on TikTok, like the amount of videos I've seen of people duetting potters on their wheel and the way they shape their wares, it's a lot sexier than I thought it was.
Well, I mean, if you've seen Ghost, right? It takes us back. Yeah.
I feel like, Chloe, you must be much younger than me, because I feel like it's going through another cycle then, right? Because Ghost. I mean, when everybody saw Ghost for the first time, it was like,
but was it the pottery that was sexy in Ghost, or was it like Patrick Swayze that was sexy in Ghost? Like, I never thought the pottery was the erotic part. I mean, I don't know.
Well, I mean, I think Patrick Swayze, anywhere by himself, sure. Johnny, bad boy Johnny. But I think when you add in the pottery and all the, I'm going to say it because it's so like moist and wet.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, I'm going to say it. And just, for those of you,
I feel like it's really good hand exercise.
Yeah.
Anything where you're using your hands. Like, and again, I feel like so often we get to see like the tough, uber masculine side of heroes, like using their hands. But at least my background is in the art. So I love seeing men express themselves and be a little bit more vulnerable and artistic. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Me too. I'm a sucker for artsy men. Absolutely. Yeah.
True. Somebody also asked, Deanna asked, what would be your favorite fairy tale that you turned into your own story? And I guess I would tack on to the end of that too, or one that you haven't done yet in the series that you do want to do.
So I probably, out of all the fairy tales that I know, I guess Beauty and the Beast is my favorite, which is why I made it the basis of the first book. And one that I have not done, I haven't done Beauty and the Beast. I mean, I haven't done, whoops, I just said that. I haven't done Sleeping Beauty. That's the next book that's coming out in June. And I'm going to do a Little Mermaid one too. So yeah, and they're they're all loose. Like you can see that it's based on it, but it's, you know, it's certainly not following the fairy tale, you know, plot point for plot point. But yeah, the Little Mermaid one is a little challenging because of course it has to take, you know, it's not fantasy. It's contemporary romance and it has to take place on land, but I've got it plotted out. I think it's gonna be fun.
Well, that's perfect, especially since I know that they're doing a remaking of a live action Little Mermaid movie. So I think the timing, like in the next year or so, would be perfect for that.
Oh, I had not heard that. I thought maybe True was going to announce on our podcast tonight that, or on our show, that she was going to start writing, you know, mermaid romance.
Announcing, yes, no. I've got one in me. Yeah, and I have seen that it's gonna be live action, and I'm trying to remember who the star is. It's a young big star, but it's like slipping my mind. Do you remember, Kelly, who's gonna be in that one?
I'm Googling it right now because she's beautiful, whoever it is. I mean, Halle Bailey, I think. Halle Bailey as Ariel. I'm less familiar with her, but I think maybe she's like a Disney star or
she's a singer.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. She and her I saw her and her sister for the first time when they sang at the Super Bowl. They sang the national anthem. Right.
That's
and
right.
They also performed on the Grammys, but I think she might be a solo artist now. I can't remember.
Still exciting. There you go. Little Mermaids. We had Witches, I feel like, have their moment in 2021. And then so now we've got a segue into mermaids. I'm here for it.
Love it. All right. A couple of the questions have come in too.
Yes. I still have one farther up at the top too from Teresa. Teresa asked if there was to be a movie adaptation of your favorite book that you've written, which book would it be, and who would you ideally get to choose to play the leading roles?
Egads. Gosh, one of my favorite books is Saving Shelby, which is the first book in the Raptor series. And the hero is kind of rugged, maybe rough around the edges. And I kind of see a little bit of a Brad Pitt vibe with him, with the longer kind of scruffy hair and Legends of the Fall kind of look.
I was about to ask PJ, which version of Brad Pitt? Are we talking like current Brad Pitt or like circa 97 Brad Pitt, you know, like, so Legends of the Fall Brad Pitt?
Well, most of my characters are all in their 30s and 40s, so he's got to be aged a little bit from Legends in the Fall, but he's just kind of that, not polished, right?
Mm-hmm.
I could really see my book 3, which is it's The Baby and the Blue Blood, and it is a Cinderella retelling. The hero is a prince, and I would absolutely love to have Sam Claflin play the prince. I just love his accent, and he's so cute, and he's about the right age. So I think he'd make a great prince. The heroine, who's her name is Cinda, is a single mom, and I'm trying to think of who would be, you know, a blonde actress who's about that age. I don't know. Can y'all think of one? Around 30?
30-year-old blonde actress.
I can totally, like, I always have somebody in mind for my heroes, like a real life person. Not necessarily for my heroines. Yeah.
Same.
Like, they're me, you know.
Is that something that's constant amongst all three of you? Is that you typically have a clear vision of who the hero is, but maybe not as much so for like who would be the heroine?
I always know who she is inside, completely.
Right.
But what she looks like, because you're going through the book is her avatar, you're seeing out of her eyes. You're not really looking at her all the time. I don't have that vision. Sometimes maybe later I'll spot like an actress and go, oh, she'd be good, but when I'm writing it, I don't see her as much as I see him.
I definitely know who my hero is. I write third person, so I have to know what she looks like and who she is, and I'll just go out on deposit photos and find a picture so that I have a descriptor. But I focus more on the hero, I think. I'm the heroine, so.
Yeah, I think I would agree. All of my heroes, though, somehow end up being Chris Hemsworth, just maybe with different hair color, or he has brown hair in this one and blonde hair in that one. And yeah.
It's like when you go online and you're like, what would I look like with these different haircuts and colors? You just put in Chris Hemsworth.
Mm-hmm. Maybe his eyes are a little bluer in this one or a little greener in that one. And yeah.
Could be worse.
That works for me. Mm-hmm.
I do a Pinterest board normally and pick out pictures of, both somebody that inspires the hero and the heroine, just because that way there's something to reference when I'm describing them. And even then, I don't know if this happens to either of you, but in book 2, he had green eyes, and in book 3, all of a sudden, he's got dark hair and brown eyes. And it's like, where did I mess up? So it's sometimes difficult if you don't have, that visual that you can reference to keep them straight.
With my guy on the cover, I don't mess that part up. Not that I don't drop other details, and my editor goes, that's why we have editors.
So that brings up an interesting question. Do you pick out your covers before you start writing the book? Because for me, I'm always trying to like retrofit my cover to what I wrote, because I never pick out my cover ahead of time. But how about both of you?
I do my whole series, the covers, before I start writing. And I have the series kind of loosely plotted out, so I know where they're each going to go throughout the series. So, and I like doing that. I like referencing the covers, whether or not I've shown them. Normally I'll just plop them up on my website, and that's no big cover reveal or anything. But yeah, I like having the whole series done.
That is smart.
I have done it both ways. I would say with this series, I did find the photos first. Since I was having all covers with a single guy on them, it was critical that I have really good photos. So it took a lot of looking around, and when I saw a really good one that I could actually afford, I snagged it. So yeah, those came first in this series.
That's cool. I can see the benefits of doing it each way, and also like the challenges too. So because I will say, as a reader, I already said, like, there's when things take place in certain cities and it doesn't make sense, I'm that person that does notice it. I'm also that person where if like your cover models like are a stark contrast to how they're described in the book, I'm going to have questions.
That's a really nice thing about being an indie author and getting to choose your own covers, because, I know we all have friends who are traditionally published, or maybe you have been before, and you don't get to choose all the time anyway. And sometimes, a cover is picked because someone believes it will sell books, but it doesn't really match the characters that you have on the inside. So that's nice. It's great to have that kind of control, as picky as you want to be.
Right. Well, and sometimes it's hard to find. So if I had picked out my images ahead of time and then wrote my characters to match, sometimes it's very hard to go back and retrofit, heroes and heroines to fit what you've written. So, although I will say that there are some very amazing cover designers out there who can do a lot with, head swapping and recoloring hair and actually adding muscles. And I mean, it's amazing what some of those artists can do. So
yeah,
they're definitely artists. Yeah.
So it looks like we are getting close on time. Is there like any last minute question, or have we got them all done?
I think Cheryl actually had the last question in, which is a
Okay.
great way to wrap up. And Cheryl said, I read all of the author bios on Amazon, or I read all of the author bios on Amazon when I purchase a book. Would you tell us one thing that you each would especially like us to know about you as a person?
Well, I kind of think it's all in my bio. I don't know.
Maybe something beyond the bio then?
I'm a cancer survivor. My husband and I are bikers. We're getting ready to hit the road, and next month we do a big long trip every year. And I just love doing that because you stop at a gas station with a motorcycle, and there'll be 5 people that come over and talk to you to ask you where you're going and where you've been and offer some suggestions. So I think for me, it's just being able to travel around in a way that intrigues other people, because we've really met some great people that way. So
That's amazing. And also, where are you going?
this year we're heading to the Ozarks, and we're going to spend 10 days just kind of traveling around the Ozarks. We have the same group we've gone with for years and years and years. There's 5 couples, and we will find Airbnbs. We pick a destination, and it really based on who has a schedule that's more open, or if somebody has a lot of things going on and we can't go as far, then we find something fairly close to us. So this year it's Ozarks because we all had crammed schedules. Next year, we're probably headed back out to Colorado. We were out there a few years ago, and we had a great time, but it was so big and epic that we didn't get to see everything that we wanted to see. So we'll probably head out there and see some different cities that we didn't get to dip into while we were there the last time.
That sounds fabulous.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's fantastic. What a great adventure. I love that.
What do you ride, PJ?
I'm sorry?
What do you ride?
I've had like 5 motorcycles in my life. And 4 years ago, I had to give it up driving myself, hands from the typing. So now I just kind of ride on the back. We have a bagger, we have a Harley, and all of our friends do too, but we pack it full. So if we're going somewhere for 10 or 15 days, you bet it's packed full.
Oh, how much fun.
Yeah.
Very cool.
That is really awesome and way, way cooler than mine. I'm like trying to come up with something now. Let's see. I guess something that's not in my bio is that my first career was a TV news anchor. I started doing that right out of college, and I worked at 6 different TV stations, kind of climbing the career ladder in 5 different states. So I got to move around a lot, and I retired to stay home with my kids because anchoring the news, going to work from 3 to midnight was a terrible mom schedule. And I don't miss it. I like what I'm doing so much better, but it was an awesome experience that really informed the author career, because every single day I got to interview people from different walks of life and just really steep in the human experience and learn so many different things. And how you kind of, your subconscious has got it all. And when you're writing, you'll be like, where did that come from? I haven't thought about that in 15 years or whatever. So I experienced that a lot where, I'm writing along in a scene, and then something that I learned or experienced in that career will come back. So I'm wishing that I was a biker going to the Ozarks though.
I don't know. I just finished watching the last season of Ozark. So be careful, PJ.
We've been laughing about that.
I watched too much
riverboat casinos.
Yeah, I watch too much Dateline and anything like that in general. So everywhere to me is like danger.
We actually had a family reunion in the Ozarks. I mean, it's been several years, but there are some very beautiful places down there. And so I have spent some time there, and it is lovely. So you're going to have a great time.
Good.
Dylann, what's your fact beyond your bio?
Oh, I thought we were gonna skip me because I
No.
only have to answer the questions that I want to, right? Gosh, I don't know. A fact beyond my bio. I kind of lay it all out there in my bio. I don't know. I mean, if we're talking about past jobs, my first job out of college, I worked for a rental car company, and during my first week on the job, I had to repo a car. So I had to repo a rental car.
That's fun.
And I decided that that was not the career for me after, I was like ducking down and kind of crawling along and getting in the car to pull out.
What an experience.
Yeah. So I guess there you go. I have repossessed a car legally, like legally stolen a car out of someone's driveway.
You've
That is-
all lived such exciting lives.
Well, yeah. How about you, Kelly? What is something that's
Yeah,
on
you too.
your bio?
Beyond my bio.
Because you are a woman of many talents. I don't know if our viewers know that you have starred in your own little kind of mini show. Where can they see that?
I did. I went to school for theater, and then I went to grad school for screenwriting. And so performing has been a part of my life forever. And then add in the writing aspect, it's in some facet. But yeah, I did put together a web series a couple years ago that is still a in progress event. But we've gotten some good feedback on it thus far. So I'm very passionate about talking about anything having to do with women's issues or anything like that. So of course I made a whole web series about it. But yeah, so I mean that's, you can watch it on YouTube. It's called Misrepresent. Yeah, I don't know. I've had many weird jobs in my life. I haven't gotten to repossess a car, but there's been a lot of weird ones. I think my favorite though was that for a Halloween I haunted a corn maze. That was a pretty good one. So I liked that one the best, I think. I am actually planning to self-publish my first novella this fall. So that's kind of I'm taking all this feedback and advice that y'all are putting out there and like, ooh, gotta work on that. So thank you.
Well, we'll have to have you come back when you've published so you can read from your work.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we are about out of time. Well, we're over because we always go over. But I wanted to remind everybody that we've got a giveaway up on the Romance Happy Hour Facebook page. We'll leave it open through the weekend. And True is giving away an e-copy of Bookworm and the Beast. And PJ is giving away a signed paperback of Ford Finding His Fire. So head on over to the Facebook page and you can find out how to enter the giveaway. And thank you, all three of you, for joining me tonight. This has been a lot of fun, and it was great hearing you both read from your work. And happy release day to you, PJ. We hope that we'll see you back on Facebook soon.
Yes.
Yes, that would be great. Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. This was a blast, and I've always enjoyed watching your show, so I'm so tickled to be here.
Oh, thanks. I'm so glad you were able to make it. I was going to ask PJ, since you aren't on Facebook, where is the best place for people to find you right now? Is it your website?
My website. I am on TikTok, but my website is, pjfiala.com.
Okay.
And that's kind of my home base. So.
Okay, great. And True, where do you spend most of your time on social media if people want to find you and interact?
I post infrequently on Instagram. I'm on Facebook every day. So yeah, if people want to message me there, I love to hear from readers. So you can find me on Facebook unless I get kicked off. So when I get cool enough, I might get kicked off. For now, that's where I am.
All right. Hopefully none of us will be as cool as PJ and we'll all be able to maintain our profiles and our real estate on Facebook. So, all right. Well, thank you again for being with us. We will be back because oh my gosh, it's already the end of May. We will be back in June. We are moving to the 3rd and 4th Thursday in June because I have a high school senior who's graduating on June 9th. So we had to move the date. So we will be back on June 16th and then again on June 23rd. And we will see you all then. So have a great holiday weekend.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.